So after a long time of waiting for this thing to arrive, we finally got the Fimi Palm. It's going to be kind of an interesting video today. I'm going to go through some of the pros and the cons of the Fimi Palm. We spent the very little money we make on this channel and we put it back into the channel, and we bought the cheaper version of the Osmo Pocket. It's a lot less expensive than the Osmo Pocket, I'd say like 40% cheaper. The Fimi Palm's got a few features that the Osmo Pocket didn't have coming out the box and that you had to buy all those extra adapters for. This has got those built in. The first pro about this camera is 4K 30 FPS. It can't do 60 frames per second like the Osmo Pocket in 4K, so that's a bit of a downside. But the 4K quality ultra-wide screen is actually not that bad. It took me a few hours, it's kind of fiddly in the beginning to get everything set up and get the picture quality better and better and better. I finally realized that my micro SD card wasn't the best version for this particular camera. You need to get one of those that has the Ultra written on it. I think the previous one I was getting was like 60 megabits per second, but if you use the Ultra, I think it guarantees like 80 megabits per second. So that actually affected my image quality. So once I fixed that, the image quality started to get a lot better in my view. It's not quite as sharp as the Osmo Pocket. Have a look at this comparison. So this is a test at the best time of the day, 12 o'clock. Everyone knows that's the best time to film a YouTube video, but the Fimi Palm ultra wide, 128 degrees, and the Osmo Pocket is a little bit of shade here. So, and the tracking on the Fimi Palm is also a lot better. It's literally much faster at picking you up. The Osmo Pocket loses you quite easily with its contrast detection autofocus thing. But the Fimi Palm, if you have a look, is actually trying its hardest to keep me in focus, which is kind of impressive. But how does the picture quality look on both these cameras? The Osmo Pocket and its little brother, the Osmo Pocket, would probably look a lot sharper. But yes, let's switch to the Fimi Palm now. Not bad. Not bad for the price. Fimi Palm that side. Which one is the better picture? So the Fimi Palm actually doesn't do too bad. A little noisy, but the color is really nice, and I might even give this one nice dynamic range on the Fimi Palm on the right hand side. The Osmo always looks good as well. So number two is the interface and the touch screen. If you have a look at the Osmo Pocket screen, it's a little bit bigger, quite similar. I don't know if it's brighter, I'm not really sure. I think the Osmo Pocket screen looks a little bit better, especially when you're outside. But it's not bad. Considering this is a cheaper camera, it's not bad. It's very important the menu will not respond if you push hard. You need to imagine you're swiping off a small piece of dust, then it will actually work nicely. Follow mode allows you to pan and tilt. Pitch lock will allow you to lock the camera facing forward in one direction. Gimbal lock will lock everything facing in one direction. And FPV allows you almost an immersive experience and goes anywhere. If you keep swiping, you'll see ultra wide. This is the one that works in 4K 30 FPS. I couldn't get any of the other modes working in 4K, so just narrow and super scope, those are for 1080p, and I think ultra wide is probably the best anyway. Super scope in 1080p. Another pro for the Fimi Palm is the stability. It's actually not bad. It's a gimbal obviously, but you never know with these things if they actually get these motors right. So it uses a servo looped system to do its stabilization, which is pretty good. Mechanical image stabilization. I did some walking tests with the Osmo Pocket, and here are the results. So here we have the Fimi Palm, and the colors look really nice, and the stabilization is absolutely solid. The Osmo Pocket looked a little bit overexposed at the moment. I'm not sure what happened there. A little bit brighter, but the Fimi Palm looked a little bit more natural, and I think I'd give this one to the Fimi Palm actually. Even in the end when it starts looking up, it just looks a little better. Number 4 on the list is the fact that it's got a built-in joystick. Obviously the Osmo Pocket, you needed to buy this accessory. Not anymore, it's got this little joystick, which is kind of fiddly, but it still works okay and it does the job. It feels good. It just makes a little bit of a clicking noise when you're actually using it when you're recording, so keep that in mind. You'll have to edit that out or just not use the audio when you're doing panning shots. And it's actually got a few different features. Let me show you. If you hold the joystick in for 3 seconds and you push left and right, it'll allow you to change the exposure compensation value. So you can go left and right if you're overexposed or underexposed. You can go to the right hand side, which is pretty cool. And you can also zoom in if you push up and down on the joystick. So that's actually useful. It's a little bit of a gimmick, but it actually doesn't do too bad of a job, and it's all stabilized. So it's obviously just cropping in on that 4K, but you know, nice to have. The next pro I've got, number 5 for the Fimi Palm, is built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. That's pretty cool. I don't know if everyone else remembers, but a lot of people that use the Osmo Pocket know that you've got to buy a Wi-Fi adapter, 40 or 50 bucks, can't remember how much it costs, but it works well. It allows you to connect to your phone. The Fimi Palm has that built in. Let me show you a few features about that and the app. Once you power up your Fimi Palm, then swipe from the top down, then swipe once to the left, and you'll see Wi-Fi. 2.4 gigahertz works from further away, but it's slower. Then you just click your Connect Now on your app, and you wait for it to load the Palm. You click that Palm and you close that screen, and you'll be able to remotely control your Fimi Palm and see all the options. The next good feature about the Fimi Palm is you can actually mount a tripod on this. You don't need to buy any extra adapters or anything to wrap around this thing, although I'm sure there's third-party things available. However, there is an issue with this. If you actually connect, for example, this clamp, and I wanted to clamp it to something, notice how the clamp actually hits the back. So either you're going to have to machine this, or I don't know, get something a lot smaller. I managed to find something that works, but it's just a little bit of an unfortunate situation that they mounted it so high up. I think they ran out of space because this thing's got a lot of electronics in it. But if you find something that's a lot thinner and you screw it in that way, you shouldn't have any issues. But this becomes a little bit cumbersome. It's cool that it's got a tripod adapter, but they didn't quite get it right, especially with the size and the width. Another pro is smart tracking, which is basically the same as the Osmo Pocket's face tracking, and it actually works pretty well. And I'd actually go as far to say that it works a little bit better than the Osmo Pocket. Considering this camera is a lot cheaper than the Osmo Pocket, that's quite impressive. The issue that I do have with the Fimi Palm is that once you've connected the app, you can't actually draw a location. You can't technically do object tracking. Now, having said that, it actually works quite well. The face tracking on this thing, if you actually walk out of the scene and you come back and you do some epic broom B-roll or something, it recognizes a human face and it starts tracking you again. All this without actually having a cameraman. That's pretty cool. I was able to play around with the thing and do some messing around and just testing how good the thing is. You can actually set the sensitivity of the tracking as well, but I'm still not sure if that's related to how fast the thing tracks, but pretty good. I must say, that was the one feature that I was impressed with. The only thing I would suggest to Xiaomi, the makers of this thing, is if they could actually build in that touchscreen functionality into the app and perhaps allow object tracking, which means you can do some cool things in your videos. So you do have all the usual features on this camera that the Osmo Pocket have: time-lapse, hyperlapse. You can also record in H.265, which takes up less memory on your memory card. I've been recording in H.264 and copying those files onto my machine, and it's really fast. I don't know what it is. I think it's just newer technology, but it's down to my computer much quicker. So that's a pro. Let me show you some of those features really quickly. If you swipe towards the left, you'll see time-lapse, and you can set up a time-lapse from that, and they don't look too bad. You've also got some cool features like HDR Photos, which actually come out really nice, and they don't crunch those blacks and whites too much. If you keep swiping and set up HDR Photos, you just click on the top left and you'll see HDR and long exposure, and you can also set a panorama up. If you click on the bottom right, you can set your ISO values, which is pretty cool. You cannot change your shutter speed, unfortunately. You can also change your exposure compensation using that little joystick. Looking at the Fimi Palm website, they've got a great photo of 8x slow motion, and I thought I'd test that out and see if I could recreate that shot. And I will say the slow motion feature is not that good, and if you blow up this image, it really looks horrible. So the 8x slow motion is even worse, and I think it's better if you shoot in 2.7K, 60 frames per second, slow that down 50% in your video editing software. You'll get a much better result for slow motion using this camera. I'm not sure if you can see that, but in the book it has a little picture of a USB-C adapter to 3.5mm audio jack. This does not work, and in the book it says it should work, so I'm not sure what that is. I've actually ordered the separate little base that comes and it plugs into the bottom. I'm hoping I can get my Rode Wireless Go working. It's kind of disappointing that they're advertising that it works with any kind of adapter. It's not the case, so it's just going to become another thing of you have to buy another adapter for like 40 bucks to get this thing to work with an external microphone. This is the sound coming out the Fimi Palm. And it switched to the Osmo Pocket. The last complaint I had about this was the image sensor is not quite as big as the Osmo Pocket. The image isn't quite as sharp. I had quite a few issues with this thing when I was using the slower memory card. I'm not sure if that's on me, but it's taken me quite a while to get the picture quality pretty good. It seems a little bit fidgety, and sometimes it just does random things like turn off and gives you strange error messages on the screen. But for the price of this camera, which is a relatively affordable version of the Osmo Pocket, it's actually not too bad. And if you have a spare couple $100 lying around, is this a good investment over the Osmo Pocket? Should you wait for the Osmo Pocket 2? It really depends what you want to do. I hope the Osmo Pocket looks at this and the wide angle field of view and sees all the options and even makes it better than this. But this isn't a bad camera. It does a pretty good job. I wouldn't say the app is quite there yet. The Osmo Pocket app, the DJI Mimo app, is a lot better. It's still a little buggy, and maybe they can fix that in firmware updates. Not bad, Xiaomi Fimi Palm, not bad. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and see you again next time.